As we say, there's a clutch of top company profits out today. Ed and I are going to go through them and check out also the market reaction for you. And we're going to start with Australia's biggest energy retailer and generator. That's AGL, which turned around a $1.1 billion statutory loss in the same half last year into a $576 million profit. The underlying profit increased fourfold, easily beat analyst expectations. The interim dividend, you can see 26 cents a share, is up strongly. I spoke earlier with AGL's Chief Executive, Damien Nicks, for Business Weekend. Here's just a little of his reaction.
Certainly come a long way. I've been really pleased with the strong financial performance, but also importantly the operational performance of our plants. We've seen great, strong operational improvement. The reliability of the plants and the flexibility of the plants has come a huge way. And seeing the organisation come together again, engagement's up, and people are just wanting to get on and really get going.
So let's bring in here Ed Boyd and just find out how the market reacted to those AGL results.
Really well, Ross. AGL shares took off today. Market clearly loved the result. It was the top performer on the ASX 200, jumping a bit over 10%. And the big winner out of all this is its major shareholder, Mike Cannon-Brookes, who owns about 10% of AGL. So just doing rough calculations here, that takes his stake from being worth about $540 million up to about $600 million today, Ross.
Chump change for him. I would have thought he's got a lot of other money around the place. So let's go to the apartment and land developer, Mirvac. This is not a good story. It lost $201 million in the last half year. That compared with a profit of $215 million a year earlier. It did make an operating profit of $252 million. That was down 17%, but the loss came after it devalued its investment property portfolio. So, Ed, Mirvac shares?
Well, not a great result, but shareholders seem to like it. I think they were expecting it to be a lot worse than it actually was. One broker this morning in a report said they're expecting Mirvac to grow its earnings by up to 13% over the rest of this financial year. So it actually jumped. It was one of the top performers today as well, Ross, up almost 5%.
All right, let's keep moving through some of these because there's Transurban, the toll road operator. Its profit quadrupled. Get that, quadrupled. $230 million as traffic volumes here and in the US increased. Toll revenue, that was up 6.3% to about $1.7 billion. You can see the total revenue there was about $2.12 billion. During the year, Transurban opened the massive underground Rozelle interchange in Sydney, but that's caused havoc on the roads ever since, above on the surface roads. There's a government inquiry about the start, so Transurban shares it.
Not as good for Transurban today. They started flat this morning, dropped slightly. Shareholders, I think, were hoping for a better profit guidance. They may have also been expecting Transurban to increase its full-year dividend forecast. So it was down just on about 1%. Ross.
All right, we're going to bring it a bit closer into home here because News Corporation, which is Sky News owner, of course, its profit here soared 95% in the second quarter to $183 million on sales that were up by 3% to just over $2.5 billion. The standout, though, the performance of its Dow Jones division in the US. The result also helped by REA Group, which is 61% owned by News. It increased profit 22% to $250 million. For the half. Ed, I'm presuming this was pretty good on the market.
This was a good one. News Corp were also one of the top performers on the market today. Growth in revenue and profitability clearly better than expected, so it was up 6.3%. But looking at the overall stock market, you can see it did lift today, pushed higher by utilities like AGL and the tech sector. Energy stocks, they dropped about 0.5% today, but the market finished up 0.3%. Nuix, which makes intelligence and data analytics software, was the top tech company. Property manager Charter Hall's Long WALE REIT, well, that jumped after it was saying it would divest about $500 million worth of commercial property to reduce its debts. And hearing implant maker Cochlear lifted after upgrading its earnings guidance in this current financial year to about $400 million. Losing value today included Platinum Asset Management, property listings company REA Group, which slid despite reporting that lift in revenue and profit that Ross said earlier. And fund manager Magellan, well, that was down about 3%. Here's a quick look at the Aussie dollar. Remember, it fell below 65 US cents earlier this week. It's currently buying 65.19 US cents. And just to finish up, Chinese stock markets, they took off early this week, rising upwards of 4% in a single day. Here's the performance today in Shanghai and Hong Kong, and then also a look over to Japan. You can see the Nikkei is the strongest of the bunch, up about 2%, Ross.
Yeah, thanks so much for all of that, Ed.